This video is kind of me throwing out my thoughts on living on a sailboat and why I want to do that. Man, last night was windy. No one's climbed in there before because it's always too full, but that's one of my plans one day. I'm picturing palm trees and white sandy beaches. We are Preston and Shauna, sailing our 1988 Catalina 36 around the Pacific Northwest. Between the two of us, we have 7 kids, and we have a little time before our nest is completely emptied. Join us for the next 5 years of sailing adventures as we learn the ropes and make plenty of mistakes, gearing up for the day we can sell all our crap and become full-time liveaboards, sailing off into the sunset. So this video is kind of me throwing out my thoughts on living on a sailboat and why I want to do that. Man, last night was windy. Holy cow. And after an entire night of 15 to 20 knots anchored and a mast that just pumps like crazy, man, the next morning you feel like you woke up after surviving a bombing run in a B-27 or whatever the heck they were called in World War II, going through flak and just, it's so loud, it's thumpy, the whole boat shakes, it feels like it's porpoising up and down, just nuts. It's just become so hard in our country to make it with a normal career, to where you're actually saving for retirement and other things other than just paying your monthly bills, that the only way to do it is to downsize. I was stupid. I did look at the wind forecast, and it said for a few hours it would get fairly windy but then die down, and I was tired, so I just went to bed without wrapping my halyards around the mast like I usually do when it's going to be windy, because just wrapping those 2 halyards around a couple wraps just from below, I don't even have to climb up there, that gets rid of almost all the mast pumping. I didn't do it last night, and man, I wish I had. And right now I'm on my 36-foot Catalina. And the more time I spend on it, the more I feel like it's plenty of space for me. If I stay out at anchor as much as possible when I'm living on this thing, I have no mortgage essentially. And I get to choose when I want to be at a dock with a dock fee, and even when I do that, it's going to be less than half of what I pay in my mortgage right now. And that's not even considering all the other things I pay for by owning a house. Cold out there, so I'm just popping my head out real quick. I don't think there's going to be too much sailing this week. I'm friends with Captain Robert from Abney Park, and he's been wanting to come out here and get some sailing under his belt. He's got a 26-foot runabout, so he might come out, maybe raft up, hang out, have some drinks, and maybe we'll go sailing this weekend. We'll see. A very, very, very close second, and we'll probably, once I have that financial thing out of the way, it will overtake and go to number 1, is the pure adventure of living on a sailboat. I'm super sold on bus life, RV life, and other mobile ways to live, but the boat just has me far more in love with it. I mean, I can literally go anywhere with a sailboat. Even this one, even though it's built just for coastal cruising, I could take it around the world if I was very smart and very careful. Also, I love the idea that every port, there's very few places you can't just anchor out on the water. Very few that are restricted. With an RV or a bus or something like that, I'm not just going to want to plop down in a Walmart parking lot. I don't know if that's allowed or not, but even if it was, I'm not going to be sitting there in the Walmart parking lot. With my boat, I can go to any anchorage, any bay, and just plop it down for the most part. And that's awesome. There's so much storage in here. It's the same amount of storage as a blue water boat. 2 super deep double sinks. I could add, if I wanted to, salt water right there. There's already a hole for it. The dry storage, it's so far down there, I myself could climb in there on one of the nights that we play hide and seek, which we do, and no one's climbed in there before because it's always too full, but that's one of my plans one day. Same with the fridge. The fridge is the exact same size. It is super deep, has a freezer section in it, along with the fridge. We can't fill it up even if we tried. Some of these cabinets we don't even use. And on movie nights, or right now, it's just me. I just have the dinette table down, and it's just a really big, huge open space. Having the dinette out, it's really for like a big, huge board game type thing when you have a bunch of people on board. With just two of us, I think we'll always have this as kind of a lounge area while we're relaxing and watching TV. And when I say relaxing and watching TV, I mean watching other sailing channels and Cops. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, Cops is like dropped everywhere, and Fox picked it up. And I'm not a huge seller on Fox because they're a little too crazy conservative for me for the most part. But they have Cops. There's so much space in this little 36-foot sailboat that two people, I think, can easily live on this thing with all the things they need and be perfectly comfortable. You know, there's only a few downsides, especially living in a place like where we do here, and on a rainy day like today and super cold, even though it's the middle of April, is the windows are so up high and they're so small that you do start feeling kind of closed in. And since you can't really use the cockpit as your outside space when it's super cold and super rainy, even with the tarp up out there, it still doesn't feel like you've got out of your little cave. I've grown pretty darn tired of gray skies and rain an awful lot. You know, the two really solid summer months we have up here in the Seattle area are absolutely beautiful. They're hands down just absolutely beautiful. But that's only 2 months of the year. The rest of the time, I'm finding it more and more and more miserable. So I want to follow the sun. The heating situation is a kerosene heater. It's kind of bulky. I just have it here and I step over it when I need to go to the bow of the boat or to get into the head. But when we have the table up, we'll put it under the table. I mean, this thing gets this place cranking toasty. You know, water isn't really that big of a deal either, especially with just two people. You know, our tanks, I believe, are 72 gallons total together. That lasts, if we're fairly careful, at least a week, more like 2 weeks. And then I have two 6-gallon jerry cans up top, which we almost never have to tap into. And we're not super stingy. You know, we do all of our dishes with clean water. You know, we're both showering usually once a day, each of us. So 1 to 2 weeks on that, that's plenty, especially inland like we are now. There's always a water source. I mean, look at the view I get when I shower. You don't get that at home. Right now it's cloudy and rainy and crappy out there, but I'm picturing palm trees and white sandy beaches. The spigot pulls out from the sink and gives you pretty much the exact same pressure as you'd have at your house. There's absolutely no different except you're using a lot of water. As a liveaboard, you know, depending on how much time you spend on a dock where you have an unlimited water source, I would just shower with that and have as long of a shower as I needed. Out at anchor, I don't like to use that much water because I'm usually not out for just one night or two. If I was, then I'd just use that, but usually I'm out for a week or more. So we have this portable Camp Nemo thing, and it has actually pretty good pressure. It's got a foot pump, so you don't have to be hand pumping and stuff like that. That thing's awesome. I just take about a gallon of boiling hot water, pour it into about a gallon of cold water, and it's perfect. But even inland, where we'll probably be living most of the time, I totally foresee installing a water maker. I have an open seacock under this thing, plenty of room to install one, or I've even looked at very seriously after watching the Good, Bad, and Ugly episode where they got their temporary and portable water maker. That seems pretty good to me too. Our solar panels, I can't remember exactly how much wattage it is because I never think about it. And it's never sunny here. It's almost 100% overcast and raining. And I never have to think about power. I have the lights on here all day long. all through the evening. We don't go to bed super early, you know, somewhere between 9 and 10, sometimes later, depending on how good the Cops episodes are. Even on a cloudy day, I can have the refrigerator running full blast, both computers, the lights, the inverter to run all that stuff, and the batteries stay pretty much topped off. Another reason I want to get out there and live full time on this boat is meet all the people with all the rad sailing and or any kind of traveling stories. We were in Friday Harbor on the public dock, and we just happened to be docked right in front of this big boat, like a 42-foot motorboat, and the guy that was sitting out on the bow, as we approached, he shouted out to us if we needed any help, and I said, no, we got it. But I knew that that voice sounded really familiar, and I was wondering, well, where the heck is that from? Later that day, we were walking the dock, and we passed by these two dudes, and one of them was like, dude, that's that guy from Whale Wars. Just the few years we've been sailing, we've met so many cool people just for being out there. And I really want to meet more of those people and hear more of those stories and learn more about those people and make those memories. It's rad.